And we are live. Let me see.
Hello,
Hold
Internet.
on. Hello, Internet. Having trouble with my Twitter live stream, maybe. Man, Twitter, as you all know, Twitter has been going through some weird changes recently. It's not even called Twitter anymore. And they just released a change a couple days ago that you need like a premium account to live stream, whatever. Anyways, sorry for the minutia. Today on the live stream, we have Peter van Hardenberg, who goes by PVH on the internet. He is the lab director at Ink Switch, which is a research org that probably many folks who are Valtown fans would have heard of. So let's just give us 1 second while we, because Twitter live stream is broken, I think PVH and I should just retweet the link to the YouTube stream. So give us 1 second.
I'll retweet it now.
Okay, cool. You just did that?
A quote post, actually.
I'll quote it and be like, we're live. And I'll have to practice my Twitter live streaming some other time. I thought I subscribed, but whatever.
It's tweet native, so.
Yeah. Anyways, so very excited to have PVH on the show. Ink Switch is this industrial research lab that you can tell us more about. But one kind of intersection is that the mission of Valtown is end user programming, and we actually link to the Ink Switch article to talk about what end user programming is, because I think that's like the best canonical resource for the vision at this moment. So thank you for that. And before Ink Switch, PVH is known for being very early at Heroku and being responsible for some of their database stuff. So if you liked Heroku Postgres, you have him to thank. So welcome.
Thanks. Yeah. Stoked to be here. It's sort of it's funny because Valtown in a lot of ways is an idea that we had at Heroku, but like we had products already. And so you end up, I don't mean to say that we like thought of it before you or anything like that, but it was like Valtown is like this great intersection of like informality and power. And so I'm excited to get to spend some time playing with you here today. And I'm also excited because I think it's gonna be fun just to think about this stuff together. I tried not to do too much like off-screen cooking magic and think very hard about this, but I have been thinking about like what will be fun, but not how to do it. So yeah, we can get into that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I think your point about Valtown being like a lot like Heroku is really, really accurate. So anyways, that's a whole separate story. Today, we're going to play with Automerge, which is this CRDT syncing library that you guys at Ink Switch have been working on for a while. In my head, it really is like it feels like it's the manifestation of this local first movement you guys are at the center of. So maybe talk a little bit about local first and Automerge to give people some context.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to spend too long geeking out on this, but I agree, it's probably helpful. So the background behind Automerge was that a long time ago, I was taking Muni in San Francisco, and I was listening to music on RDO, which was like great music app back in the day. And like as the train was going from station to station, like my music kept cutting out, and I went into offline mode, and it lost all my data. And I was like, I was listening to this song and I turned on offline mode and the data wasn't there. And I just remember this like intense feeling. And to be fair, this is totally like a backwards explanation. Like it was not like I had like a eureka moment in that moment, but this was definitely like one of the inciting feelings for me getting interested in these problems, which was like, why are they throwing away all my data? I had it there. It was in front of me. It was on my phone. I was looking at it. And then they threw it away when I turned on offline mode, because offline mode and online mode were totally different stacks. They were different implementations. They had different quirks, different features. And I just had this feeling like, whose dumb idea was this? And then I was like, oh, it was ours. Right. And so historically software is something you like downloaded, or no, historically software is something that came on like tape reels or like floppy disks or something. You put it on your computer and then you had it. And then, what sucks about that is you have like the wrong patch level of Warcraft and you can't play games with your friends. Or like you get a Word file and it's like Word 97 and you're on Word 95 and then you can't do the thing. So the cloud was great because it was like, oh, all my data, all my software everywhere. Sweet. But there was a terrible price to pay. And so as someone who was really around in the early days of the cloud, we built all of these single points of failure. I mean, Postgres databases and like, Ruby apps. And then at the time we felt very clever because it was like, yeah, this is great. Like anyone can make something, you just push it up to the cloud and then it's running. You don't have to stand up a server and learn DevOps. It was just called ops at the time. And all this kind of stuff. And it was like, oh, okay, this is great. But then over time, all those apps started to fall off the internet. And so, like one of my favorite examples is the designer at Heroku, Todd Matthews, had like a recipe for eggnog. And he made it as a little Heroku app using Sinatra, which is a very minimalist Ruby app. It was basically just a piece of static HTML, but because pushing things to Heroku implemented in Ruby was easier at the time than deploying static content, because this is before GitHub pages, he pushed it up as a little Heroku app. That app no longer runs anywhere on the internet, but the source code is still on GitHub. So I can view the source code to find the recipe, but I can't see it as it originally was. And God help you if you want to try and deploy like a 2013 era Ruby app today just to get this HTML to render. And so the kind of moral of the story here that I'm getting at is that like it kind of sucks that the software lives on somebody else's computer and then they just turn it off at some point, and you have no ability to like keep things or have things or decide for yourself where they are when they run. And that's kind of like the emotional motivation behind local first software, was like, what if we had our software on our computers? What if we could work offline? What if we could have all these nice things? But what if we didn't have to give up everything else? Like, I'm not going to get floppy disks, like a stack of floppies back. And there's a lot of like really interesting challenges around this. But the way we got into Automerge was we sort of identified that on some level, the hardest part of all of this, the reason why that RDO app worked differently online and offline, is on some level state transfer, right? Like the RDO app worked. You wanted to see your playlist, it would query some API, which told you the playlist. And you want to play a song, it would create another endpoint and start a stream of music. But then in offline mode, it had a totally different experience where it would like download some things and then download the files. And it's like, well, what's the difference between a stream and a download? What's the difference between an API and so on? And on some level, the answer is like durability. And so the idea behind Automerge was like, okay, forget all this, turn it inside out. What if you just work on stuff locally and then you push the changes to the internet when you feel like it? So that's the basic idea behind Automerge, which is like you have a data structure locally that kind of feels like you're working with an object in JavaScript, but we're recording all the changes that you make, and then we're pushing them at some interval out to the internet. So we're going to play a bit with that, but that's kind of the idea behind Automerge. And there's a bunch of interesting challenges there, like how do you make it fast? What do you do when there are conflicts? All this kind of stuff. I don't think we'll have time to get into too much of that stuff today, but if you go to automerge.org, you can play with the docs as example code and so on. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Cool. Well, I think it's time for some on-screen cooking. We have a great comment from Veztron, who I think is Elliot. I'm not sure.
What's up, Elliot?
So let's get to it. Here, I'm going to share your screen, and you can show us. I guess you could show us the Automerge. I guess you can contextualize the app you have on top of Automerge and the problem.
Yeah. So let me tell you what we've got. What I want to make today is, this is an app that we've built at the lab. It's called Patchwork, and there's another version of it, the Tiny Essay Editor T. If you go to patchwork.inkandswitch.com, you can play with this. It's researchware. It'll probably break. Don't ask too much of us. It's not published yet, but you can play if you want. So here's Patchwork. And it's basically like a little document editor. And so, you know, like here's a note I sent somebody about like how I do design for my laser cutter. Here's like a TL draw document that shows like someone was thinking about how, you know, different documents relate to each other. Make that little, that's what happens when you zoom in. But like under the hood, both of these things have something in common, which is if I come into the raw view here, we can see it just kind of looks like a JSON document, right? And so I've got in my little Valtown livestream folder here, the folder itself is a document, right? And so you can see, here's the raw view of the folder. And here's a little note. And so what we're going to do today and what I want is like, what we don't have is notifications. Hey, anyone can edit the note. But what I want is when you edit the note, Steve, I want to have some way of finding out. Okay, so the key idea here is if we look at this little thing here, you can see, would you type in the note, please?
Oh, sure. And then I think I'm going to put the link into the YouTube chat and just, you know, tell everybody to be very
Everyone's
nice.
Welcome to come play as long as they're nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So if with great responsibility. So if folks aren't nice, we'll just, you know, move to a different URL. So please be nice. All right. With that, I'll paste the link. Can maybe here? I'm just going to show it on screen. Does that look right? I think I pasted.
That looks right. Ends with nope. That's the wrong one. Oh no, that's the right one. Yeah, okay. That's the folder.
Cool.
No,
all right,
wait,
great.
what is so it should end in CDR. Okay, yeah, it does. Great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all so right. Go ahead and click on that and like, you know, type in the doc or draw on the TL draw if you want to participate.
Yeah, you can join us here. And so, okay, you know, we have these docs like this one. And what we want is when they change, we want to tell people. And Jeff Litt asked for Discord support. So what does it mean to change a document? So if we look up here, this little Wi-Fi icon here, this shows us the state of the document locally and the state of the document on the server. And so we're going to get a little technical here for a moment. When you, basically each Automerge document is like a little Git repository. When you make a change, we include in the change the hash of the previous change, just like a Git repo. And so as you type, you'll see the server heads change, boom, boom. And if two people type concurrently, you end up with two heads. And so this is sort of one of the big differences between like a Git repo and an Automerge document, which is in Automerge, you can have a bunch of divergent work concurrently. I can work offline or we can type at the same time. And then when someone edits, that sort of automatically joins everything back together. We get one head again there. So that's the idea. And so what I think we can do is we can get Automerge working on Valtown, and then we can put in one of these document IDs. We'll load up the document, check the heads. And if the heads have changed, then the document has changed, right? It's like commits in the repo. And then we can tell people.
Great.
Makes sense so far? So I think there's a bunch of ways that we could make this better and more useful. Obviously, you don't want to send a Discord notification on every keystroke. So that'll be something we'll want to figure out. And with Automerge, we can actually diff the before and after of any states. So if we get fancy, we could even like send the diff to like Claude or ChatGPT or somebody and ask it to summarize what's changed since the last edit. So that could be fun. I don't know if we'll get that far, but those would all be fun things to play with.
Sounds great.
Cool. So
I
know Automerge. Oh God, that's a stupid video thing. That's because it's a different camera.
I don't think I have that.
There you go. Nice. All right, we're good. So because
can people put in comments like?
Oh yeah, it's great. So you can select some text and you can add a comment on the side.
Okay, cool. Yeah, what happens? Like, what does my comment look like? I don't have a profile. Yeah, yours somehow knows that you're logged in.
if you click up here in the top right, you can log yourself in. And so it's kind of fun. In this program, logging in just means on the automatically created user document, setting the value of your name and setting a profile picture.
All right.
We can talk about that some other time.
That's pretty wild.
If we flip over here to the raw, right, like you can see here are the discussions, there's a comment in here, right? There's my comment. In fact, we can edit it in the raw viewer.
Cool. Oh, nice. I replied to your comment. I have an account. This is cool.
And so just while we're talking about history, we can look on the side here and we can see I made a version of this document back on July 2nd when I was first thinking about this. And then now we have the new one today, right? And we can even comment in the history. And oops, where did that go? Oh, cool. I don't know where my comments are. Oh, it's because I'm in the history view. No? Okay. I don't know where my comments are going. Whatever. But yeah, you see it has little comments on the history. We actually send the diff already to ChatGPT and ask it to summarize how the doc was edited. So if we get that far, we can actually just go steal that code out of this project and use it.
Oh, cool. Great.
All right. So let's look at how this stuff works. If you have questions, we can get into more detail. But so this was the one prep I did because I didn't want to screw around with this before and you'd get some trouble. But we recently, I can just make this slightly smaller if that's okay. We recently, Automerge at its heart is a high performance Rust code base wrapped in a friendly exterior, right? It's the, the iron fist and the velvet glove. And so unfortunately that means wasm. And when we started this project in Rust now 3 or 4 years ago, we thought, oh, wasm is big, like this will get better quickly. It hasn't. So we've spent a lot of time and energy trying to make wasm experience less awful, and man, the things I've had to do over the last few years, curl your hair. But so Alex Good, who's like the lead maintainer on Automerge, just shipped this new feature, which allows us to use Automerge on Valtown and a bunch of new environments where if you don't actually allow directly loading the like binary wasm files, there's just like a base64 encoded JavaScript version. And so let me give you a little tour of this code here, which is we're saying, hey, we want Automerge repo. That's the version of Automerge that has like support for multiple documents. We're going to talk over the WebSocket and then go and grab the wasm guts and manually initialize them here. And so once that's out of the way, and maybe someday we can team up and figure out how to get rid of this on Valtown. That'd be fun. But this works for now. It's only 3 lines of annoying code. And the basic code I've written here is for this little val, we look at the path and then we take the substring. And then if it's a valid Automerge URL, or if it's not a valid Automerge URL, we just error out. And if it is a valid Automerge URL, we're going to create a repo. We're going to find that document. And then we're going to return the contents of the document as the response. So let's look at that. And if I go in here, here's a little like Kanban board. Oh, hello.
We could have just used any of these.
Yeah, any of these, and even older.
Yeah.
But let's pick, all right, well, let's do this one then because people have been jamming in there. I like this ends in bum. That's funny. And so if I put in here, right, I can say go.
This ends in bum.
So there's get, right? And then there's the contents of the document. Right?
Cool.
Pretty print. Ta-da. So that's it, right? And so like on some level, we've already won. Like now we're all editing this on our machines. And so what's happening is when you type in your browser, right, your local browser has one of these repos as well, and it gets the change and then it inserts it into the document. And then that goes into one of these network adapters, which uploads it to sync.automerge.org. And then the val is just pulling that down and checking it. Okay, so let's start by trying to tell if the document has changed. So
Okay.
does this sound like, should we do that? This is the right thing to do now?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, cool. So let's fork the document here. Crimson Carp.
Oh, one thing you could try is the new code editor. It's like more of a full screen thing. I should have mentioned that before. It's a
code editor now in beta. So fancy. Oh, nice. I like this little sidebar. I may have to.
You should be able to collapse it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little too. That's a little too small. Yeah. Okay. Make it a little bigger, and then maybe make the sidebar smaller. If you
can. I just didn't grab the recess thumb. Cool. Okay, so we've got this document here. These are the contents. So what I want to do is maybe. I know that I mentioned earlier there's the heads, so I can say like handle.heads, and this is the current like commit hash for the document, right? Okay, well, let's talk about Valtown for a minute. I'm trying to think about like, I want to build this out of like little small composable pieces because that feels like the Val thing to do, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get these heads, and my idea is this. When I'm going to get the head for a document, and then, so we're going to need to, how does undo redo?
Yeah, this is, here, let me put it on the screen. This is an aside, but it's a really great question.
So undo and redo are implemented in this version of the editor, just in the buffer using the standard undo redo stack. Undo redo for collaboration that doesn't have this problem you just reported is a very interesting and difficult problem that we could spend a long time talking about, but I don't think we should today. But there have been some good papers about it. If you stop and really start to think about what the word undo means in a collaborative environment, in the general case, it gets very confusing because like, wait, if I undo and you typed into the middle of what I did, what happens to your text? Just as like an example. And then if you redo, like if you undo after I've removed, like there's a I write a paragraph, you type in it, I undo and the paragraph goes away. Well, you shouldn't have your edits floating in the middle. But then I redo what you've undone. And so you get into like all of these like insane braided histories where it's like very unclear what the best was, like what is even a good result. And then can we do this in a way where it works everywhere? And so for now, this editor basically punts on the problem is like, yeah, if you undo, it just reverses the last edit on the editor stack. So you can undo each other's text. But if you look in the history, it's all there, right? Like it's not undone. Technically what you've done is commit a revert of a change because it's all being live recorded and replicated to everybody else. So yeah, we could talk a lot more about that, but I'll spare you for now. Anyway. Okay, so all right, we've got these heads. And so Steve, this is the part where I'm like, I think the thing to do is we need to wake up this val at some interval, right? Because I don't want to leave this thing running. So we need to wake up the val at some interval and then check the heads of the document. And then if the heads have changed, go back to sleep without doing anything yet. But if we wake up and the heads had previously changed but have stopped changing, then we send a notification, because you want to send the notification when the editing is done, not on like every keystroke, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so if I go back here, right, I can draw this. So you have a document, and then it edits for a while, and then it goes quiet again.
Yeah, and I think at least for me, you want to filter out your own changes if possible. We don't want to know like those changes. I don't want to get.
I was thinking we could post to the Discord, right? So yeah, we could also look at authorship. That's interesting.
Yeah, if it was like an email notification, like a Google Doc, that would
then
be a
you want
separate
to
thing. Yeah, we could just do the Discord one.
Yeah. And so, okay, first question is, how should we register a document to watch?
For now, it could just be a hard-coded thing. Like we could have a list, a JSON array of them.
Okay. Ooh.
Ooh.
Software. Where are my changes?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm getting them now. So
register document to watch. Wake up at some interval and check heads. Record heads that have changed. If changes have stopped, send a notification. There. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we can hard code something. Let's just hard code this one then.
Yeah, that's good. The Automerge server does have all the history and timestamps. Like I'm happy to show you how to store things in Valtown, so like we can check. But yeah, maybe it's already there.
So we need to store the heads because what we want to know, I guess we could edit this into the document when we send notifications. That's something I hadn't considered. I was thinking that we would just like record the heads as a value, like you'd have basically a map, which is like the document's ID and then the last heads we saw and whether you'd sent a notification.
Totally. We could do that. Yeah, I was, is there in this like SDK or in Automerge, is there a way to like traverse the history?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so we could just do it. Like we don't have to store any extra data, but anyways, it's probably simpler to do it this way.
Yeah. Well, otherwise you have to, I mean, I could put this in an Automerge document. Oh, that's kind of a more native way of thinking about this. That's a fun idea.
Sync put it back in Automerge. That's funny.
It's just turtles all the way down.
Or like I was thinking, basically what you want to do is we need to decide if we're going to send a notification or not. And the way to determine it is like kind of running a query. And that query is, was the last edit some amount of time? Oh no, we should know if we've already sent a notification. I guess that's
the key thing. This is local state for this little tool, but I could make an Automerge doc or Automerge doc for it. Let's do that.
Yeah, well.
So this is where you see how I. Oh, did something go wrong?
No, that's good.
All right, cool. So we could do this with like software engineering, but I'm going to do this with software non-engineering.
Oh, could you zoom in on the console again?
Okay, so I'm just going to say repo.create. Okay, so now I've got a doc handle. I guess make another one. h.url. Okay, so there's a new document. So we're going to take that. And like, we're just going to be real dirty here. I'm going to hard code this in here. So we're going to open that.
All right.
And actually, what we want to have we want to have both documents open for now. Const, this is the like tracker, change tracker. And then this is the like watched document.
Nice.
All right, cool. And then what I can do is if we go into the raw editor here, I'm just going to pop over here, see if this works. Change tracker. This is maybe a terrible idea, but let's see if it goes. All right, sweet. So I just like tricked the program into loading this document, even though it doesn't support it. And it's not really a thing, but here we go. Okay, so what we want is we're just going to write some like metadata here. So we'll have like a watched. Oh, my keyboard's not taking input. That's weird. Something is grabbing my keyboard events. Let's try refreshing. I may have gotten too ambitious. Okay, that one's not going to work. That's fine. We'll just do it by hand. We can see the Automerge API in action here then.
Great.
So h equals repo.find. There's that document again. So what we're going to do is say h.change. And so anytime you want to change an Automerge document, you just say, hey, like I've got this handle now. I want to call change. And then you get the document. There's D. So I can say d.title equals like livestream. Done. There it is. See?
Cool. Nice.
And so what we're going to have is like, let's just make like d.watched docs.
Cool.
And so each of these is going to have, in here now we can say like change tracker dot doc. And so we'll await it. This gives us the contents. Do we care about the contents? Just thinking like, okay, we've got the heads of this document. And I guess I'm gonna, I'll just await both of these for now. It's kind of a little, maybe I can finesse this sequencing better, but for now it's just, there's the change tracker. And this is the like subject. Actually, I don't actually care about this value right now. I just want to make sure both of the documents are loaded, right? Because all this stuff is happening in the background. So when you say find, it immediately returns, right? It's a synchronous call, but it has to go to the network and say like, hey, do you have this data? Does anybody have this data? And if we had a storage engine here, it would also go and look on the disk and like pull it up. Like calling find does not make the data magically appear. It has to go do some work. So the await here is just, I'm making a call that I know will force the document to finish loading before it proceeds in both of these. Cool. All right. So now we should have these things. So what we want to do is, I mean, I guess like a naive thing we could do is say like, you know, change tracker dot change doc. We can say doc dot, what do we call the field? Watched docs. And then we're going to say the watched document, document ID equals, we've got the heads here. And then we can say heads, and then we can say const observed at equals time, or the date dot now, time dot now.
Yeah.
JavaScript, man. All right. This making sense to you?
Good. Looks good to me.
So, and then, do we need to return a response?
So I think probably right around now, you'll want to change the type of this val from an HTTP val to a cron val. And so then a response.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I do that? Teach me your way.
Yeah, click on HTTP. Click on HTTP and then click on cron.
I would not have guessed that that was an interactive thing.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Not hating. Just, you know, feedback in the moment. Okay, so
if you scroll over it, I think it's very buttony, but that does require you to scroll over it.
Yes. All right. So now I'm just going to smash that run button.
All right.
And then where do I see it?
So we should probably like log some stuff if you want to see some stuff, and then we can pop open the logs. Oh, the logs won't show up there.
It should.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. It should have changed. We don't have to do anything to like await like syncing the change.
Console log. Yeah, that just all happens automatically.
Okay, sure.
And then maybe we'll say is like maybe one of these isn't loading for some reason.
Anyway, one thing Yeah. So you could pop open the logs on the right, all the way to the right.
This?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Invalid
Oh,
URL.
okay.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. It's because I'm trying to parse a doc
I
ID
see.
I'm not using anymore.
Cool. There's more code to delete, I think.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yes, because we also don't have responses anymore.
And maybe a line 11. Oh, no. Line 11 is good.
Don't return promise.
Yeah.
Is it
And
still?
no, it doesn't import it. Yeah, no. Delete that. Cool.
All right, cool. Let's try that again. Great. Hello.
Cool.
Warning, not him. And there's the data. Great. And here it is. Sweet.
Nice. So one thing you'll notice, I think, if you go back, is that your val is still running, which is an interesting feature but because of the WebSocket connection.
Yeah. So I spent like an entire day fixing this, but my PR hasn't been accepted yet, so I didn't land it. So we're just going to pretend that's not happening for the duration of this fun session. But I do have a fix. I'm just waiting to merge the PR.
Oh, interesting. Because in my opinion, it's not necessarily your guys' problem. Like maybe there should be like at the bottom of this function, there should be a automerge.close, and it's like up to us
so I
to clean that
implemented
up.
repo.shutdown so that once you know you're done. And what the tricky part there was like tracking down all the like weird like set intervals. I spent like half of the day reading the code for like Node WS, the like Node WebSocket implementation, because if I tried to shut down while it was still connecting, it would stay, it would hang and stay open. But if it had finished connections, it would exit cleanly. And I was like reading all this code and like using why is Node running, and there was like some TLS thing that was open. It turns out that I had a set interval for a retry that I just forgot existed. And it wasn't showing up in why is Node running stack traces. It just said like unknown stack trace, and it showed up as a set timeout. So I was just like going insane, blaming this like WebSocket code. It was very JavaScript. Anyway, here we are. Okay, so we've got this. All right, so we're going to run this on some interval.
Oh, I guess one thing you could do to force the val to exit would be like throw error okay. Throw error.
Yeah, sure. All right, so let's just really be JavaScript developers here.
Yeah.
We'll give it 100 milliseconds to finish sending things to the internet, just in case.
I love it. That needs to be inside of a
Curly's.
Nice.
All right, don't tell my mom. Okay, so I don't like this. I'm going to get rid of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to say in here, let's see, watch. So we're going to const. This is really not the document. This is like the handle, and this is an annoyance that I want to fix, but here it is. So this is the contents. We'll call that the doc. Right. Hey, wait. And so what I want to do is say watched doc dot, what do we call it? Watched, okay. And I'm going to say object dot keys. I'm going to say for const doc ID in. And then sorry, this one, I deleted the wrong one. How do I undo this to you? Just grab, I want the other button. Okay, that's fine now.
One thing to throw out there, if you like programming with like a Copilot thing, giving you suggestions that you could tab into, we have that. You could turn it on if you want.
Oh, sweet. I enjoy that. Hang on. This. This is actually that, and then this is the like doc list handle. That's the list handle. Oh, God. This is the list doc. Okay. I'm just being a little bit pedantic in my style here. I don't like these popovers. Okay, so now this should give us all of the documents that we're watching. And then we're going to get this one, and then we're going to add it. And then this is the handle. Okay, and then, all right, does what I've done here make sense to you?
Yeah. I'll just on line 17 probably do doc ID.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is come back in here and like find, sure, let's get the drawing. We'll put this in here so people can look at it if they want. We're going to add, oh no, right, I got to figure out why that keyboard handler is getting swallowed, but we'll just do it in here then. So h dot change d watch docs that equals that. Should be fine. What did I do?
Cool.
Can't read properties of undefined. It's not just, okay, cool. I don't know what that is. Some other unrelated complaint. All right, sweet. So now if we run this, we should see both of these get updated. Check log. I didn't log anything anymore.
And is the error at the end happening? Huh.
Valid Automerge. Oh, sorry. This is, how do I JavaScript, Steve? I don't know how to iterate over a list, apparently.
Oh, I see. Well, Codium would help with that.
All right, let's turn it on.
All right. I put a link in the private chat. It's just val.town/settings/editor. See.
AI code suggestion.
I tip. Yeah.
Do I refresh
What you have looks pretty good to me. Yeah, you refresh the page. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. You could just delete that line.
in. This is, oh, you know what? This is 0.
I see. You could just delete that line and have AI rewrite it.
All right, how do we trigger it?
Like Command K, Command A, yeah, just like delete that line and then maybe type space. Should come up. That's
enhance. No. All right, so let's see.
And maybe delete the comment on line 9. That's like a lie, so it doesn't have a bad context. Yeah. Maybe type, yeah, there, nice. Rough. All right, well, maybe you could show me how you turned it. Maybe you didn't hit save when you turned it on. There's like,
I probably didn't hit save.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now where's the save? Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Cool. Try again.
Okay, yeah, it's trying.
All right, yeah. You could put in a comment what you want it to do, and then it'll do it. That's another option. Enter, and then it should go. Nice.
Pretty sure.
Oh, is that the same thing you did that wasn't good?
I guess.
Maybe this is of, and you did in.
Oh, it is of, and I did in. I fucking hate JavaScript some days. I have been writing JavaScript professionally for literally decades. I cannot iterate over like the keys of an object. All right, let's see if that worked. Time to die. Hey, it made it to
All
the end.
right.
Hey, it filled it in.
That's so funny
right.
that it threw an error and it's still running. There's so many like, little Valentine bugs we're discovering, or at least usability errors. So, anyways, you can remove the that's not helping.
This does nothing for us.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because it's in a timeout. Maybe if it was in the main thread.
Oh yeah, it's like
maybe, but whatever.
It's fine.
Leave it as it is.
Val will kill it. How long will it run before it gets killed? 60 seconds or something?
Yeah.
Plenty of time. Okay, cool. So now we have this. We're observing all of these heads. So then what we want to say is like, now that we've updated, look at each watched doc and ask if the heads have changed.
Maybe I think we want to do that before we mutate them.
Right. Yeah, we got to do this here. So what we can say is, thank you. Yes, I do look like I want to console log develop. This is one of those things where like I really like Copilot things, but when it prompts me with something that's not what I'm thinking, it like totally derails my train of thought.
Yeah. Okay,
so
I guess maybe we should instead of heads, it should be like current heads and oh yeah, great. Oh, look at that. Ha!
Oh, okay, it's cool. There we go. JavaScript, syntax for everything. Okay, so these are the old heads. So what we want to say is, if the heads, we don't want this continue here. If the heads are the same, yeah, and observed at, so we want to say const time passed equals old observed at minus observed at. And we may not have heads, so we need to default this to empty, and observed at defaults to just never.
1970.
I think actually we want infinity.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, because we don't want to.
Because we don't want to send notification first. Yeah. This is why I like prettier. I don't have to format my code.
If you hit, it'll do it on save. We have dprint, or you can do Command K format.
Nice. Okay, so if the heads are the same, oh, this is arrays. These need to be. We need to compare the arrays.
I always JSON stringify to do that.
Yeah, that's some solid laziness. This is like my level of gross.
Yeah. The main issue with this is that like the ordering of keys.
Yeah, exactly. I have a better function for this. It might even be exported from Automerge, but I'm not going to use it today. Okay, so const heads same. So if heads same and time passed is greater than, what is it? Thousandths of, is it seconds?
It's milliseconds. So that, yeah, you can if you somewhere in the code tell Codium what you want to do, it'll do the math for you.
If the heads are the same and it has been more than, we'll just say 5 seconds for.
I feel like maybe 10 minutes is kind of what you want.
Oh yeah, but for testing, we're just going to do 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Well, maybe we'll do 10 seconds just because that's. handy. And so
if the heads are different and if the heads are not the same.
No, if the heads are the same.
Oh, okay.
If the heads have stopped changing for long enough, then we notify.
Oh,
you want to notify. See, this is where I drew that drawing here. So
I see.
We notify on the fall
I see.
edge.
I see. Well,
no keyboard input's working. Cool.
Huh, that's very weird.
Somebody broke something since last night. Well, no, it was just working. Oh, so weird. Okay. And in fact, really, we notify like here because this is time where we're like waiting for.
Do we need to track like 3 things? Like a change happened and then change hasn't happened. So we need to know the head.
I guess what we want to say is like have notified.
At like notified at maybe.
Oh yeah, because then we can keep it around. I was just going to clear the field afterwards, but yeah, sure. Oh, we don't need that.
Or it could be like the head that we notified at. So like the last head that we notified about.
I think that works.
Well, we kind of want.
Well, before let's get there. Let's figure out this logic first. So if the heads are the same and it's been, long enough equals 10,000. If time passed is greater than long enough, then we want to like tell someone like this is like presumably call some other val. Yeah. Editing has finished. I guess what we could do is what we can say is like we can write this into the doc. Yeah. So whatever. This is fine. Editing has finished. Long enough is 10 seconds. And we're just going to keep triggering this manually, so that's fine for now. And then here's what we can say is like const editing finished. And then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that works. Let's run it.
This we're like here we're only checking that the head hasn't changed, but I feel like we need to kind of do both. Otherwise, you'll just get a notification every 10 seconds.
Yeah, so we need to, this is where we'll need the notified at. But I just want to make sure we have the logic right. So like if we run now, these should say editing finished is true, I think. Okay.
Oh, well, in the logs, yeah. Nothing.
Run again. Oh, does it only run one at a time? That would be very sensible.
No, I think you can run multiple at a time.
Huh. Okay, it's still false. So there's still a problem in my logic here. What did I screw up? All right. Can I? Okay. Be nice to be able to.
It could be that someone is editing that document.
That'd be very funny. Let's check the heads. No, because the head hasn't changed. Still says 570.
Okay.
Okay. So for each document, we get the contents. We look at the heads. We say that we're observing it now. Then we have the old.
Now we want to log all the things. We want Codium to help us log it.
Yeah, why not? That'll do. And then we want to maybe put in the doc ID as well, just so.
That was the last one.
Okay. Time passed is negative.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
You
that is correct.
Classic.
Math.
Classic.
All right.
Okay, and then presumably this will work, and then I can make an edit, and then they'll say,
"Oh yeah, make an edit,
so
would you?"
I will, and I'll just put it at the bottom. So it'll just say an edit.
Yeah, done.
Go for it. Yep.
Okay, so now that one's editing finished is false. And we can see when 10 seconds have passed here by just watching my process that doesn't die stay. Now if we run it again, it should say editing finished true. Excellent.
Yay.
Okay, so we can detect when editing has been idle for more than 10 seconds, and we should make it 10 minutes or 2 minutes or something. Tunable. But yeah, okay, so cool. This is great. So one thing I want to mention in passing here is that like, what's really neat to me about this is that like we're doing this in the context of this like Patchwork app, but this will also work for literally any Automerge document in any app anybody makes. Right? We're only using properties of the underlying system. So like Clemens Klockmers, who's like an HCI researcher out of Aarhus, has built like a collaborative DOM editor thing called WebStraits. It's very cool. And he has a version that runs on Automerge. And so like he could use this val to be notified if somebody like does anything in a WebStrait, right? And so what's neat about this, so now we're back to like Valley kind of stuff. What I want to figure out is like, how do we now, like what should happen here? Like if editing finished, and in fact, we want to make sure only once, but like now, like, how do we connect this val to other vals? Like, what's the architecture?
Yeah. And I before I answer that, I want to just say one thing about the normal architecture of these like detect change vals.
Yep.
Usually the way we do them is we this editing finished thing is kind of implicit. Basically, we only run the check as often as we want to get notified. Like the cron itself is like kind of the mechanism by which we don't get notified too often. So you like set the cron to run like once a day, and if there are changes, you just send the notification because it's just a once a day thing, anyways. Like you can't get notified too often. But this is a lot more precise. But anyways, back to your question.
That way here too, right? We just run it once an hour, and then anything that's had changed since the last run, we would notify. Yeah, that's a good thought. I'm going to put that in the notes so that when this is over, I really do. I'm making this because I actually want it, right?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and then you could get like unlucky, and then like someone's in the middle of editing, and you send the notification, so that isn't great. So maybe you do actually want.
I think there's some finessing on this. I mean, yeah, you can make anything hard and complicated if you want. Okay, but this is still pretty good. So, but the question I have is like, is there a way that I can keep this val general so that like I could give this to Clemens and like maybe he uses, I don't know, Slack or some other, maybe he wants to send an email. Like, how do I make this val like generically usable? Or is that not possible yet?
That's a great question, and that's like in theory we should be good at that. In practice, like the way you do it,
the val has to know what it's calling into next, right? And so it's like an interesting compositional question of like, well, what could you call out?
And you're in JavaScript, so you could do whatever you want. Like if you want it to like be a generic thing that returns a thing that you like pipe into something else with a callback, with a promise, with like, you could do some complicated monad thing. like you could do it however you want. The normal Valentine way to do it, like my instinct would be to just do what you want here. So like do the Discord notification here, and then tell Clemens to like just edit line 36.
Yeah,
to
sure.
like just delete that, like fork it and then delete that. And
so let's send a Discord notification. Actually, let's do one more fun thing here, which is the heads. So, okay, what we want to do is get the diff from before to after.
Yes.
Yeah. So we want to record the last heads we notified.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to say last notified heads.
Maybe it looks to me like heads, last notified heads, current heads observed at. I think maybe what the data structure is for a doc, we want like a list of all heads we know about and the time at which we knew about it, something like that.
I don't think we care about it.
No.
We just need to know, like, because what we want to know is if you've already sent out a notification.
Yeah.
Right. Then, like, we start looking, we're like, oh, something's changing. I guess when we first register a document, we don't need to send out a notification that includes every change you've ever seen. So in fact, what we want is like, if there's no heads, we'll just use heads. So you only see the changes since the first time you started paying attention to the document in the first notification.
Yeah.
I feel like I need a whiteboard for this. Let me go back to the drawing here.
Yeah. And then in theory, instead of like checking if the heads are the same, we could just check if like the diff is null. It's like probably another option.
Oh yeah, that's a funny idea. Okay, so all right, well maybe I understand this well enough to write code. Something about having like very few lines of text. It's like my attention buffer is like tuned to
because you're so zoomed in.
Yeah, so I like keep being like losing context on what I'm working on because it's like I'm sitting very close to the text, which is fine. It's sort of like a weird observation. Okay, so what we want to say is, do I want to do this? How much time do we have, Steve?
Well, we typically go for an hour, but like, I don't have anything scheduled, so we can hang out for as long as you want, maybe another 10 minutes, but whatever you want.
Okay, some things we could do would be like putting diffs in, because we can just get the old heads and the new heads and then call diff, and it'll give us a patch from one to the other, and then we can do stuff with that. But it kind of doesn't make sense to do anything with that yet. Let's call a val that does something with this, because I feel like that's going to be more of like a satisfying conclusion for me personally. So like, where can I send this information to?
Yeah. So the easiest place is
easy's good.
The easiest is to just send it to yourself in an email.
All right, let's do
so that's a one-line thing. So type the @ symbol, and then this is like, and then type yep, it's right there. Just hit enter. Great, and then perfect, done.
Okay, so what I want to say now is like, we're going to grab the watched document here. And we're going to say title equals watchdoc.title or untitled. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it'll do.
Great.
In fact, this is like a longer conversation, but the title here is actually derived from searching the contents of the document. And if we look at the raw thing, this doesn't actually have a title. And there's like a whole long conversation about where file names live on the operating system, but let's not go through that for now. But it'll work for the drawing. So let's like make the drawing like sketchy sketch. All right, so back here. So what we want is, let's just grab sketchy sketch. Do we already have this in our list?
I don't think so. I see.
Oh yeah, it's in there. It's the WZ one.
Cool.
Make sure that's right. Oh no, that's, what am I doing? package. Oh, this is still secret. I can't tell you about that yet. Goodbye. Okay, so Sketchy Sketch does end in WZ. And that was, oh God. Console, no. What is happening? Why can't I? Just forgive me, stream. I'm going to make that smaller so I can. Okay, so that is right.
No, yeah,
okay,
we can still see it.
We're already watching the drawing. So we want to email finished editing. Title. Yeah.
Cool. Yep.
And
then maybe just do like console.log, sent email, so we get like a little bit more rapid feedback. We don't have to like wait for it to hit your email.
Yeah. And so we can just call this like all right. So let's draw for a sec. So it should be false. If we run.
Yeah, it's just not log anything, I think, which is good.
And then that's been about 10 seconds. So now if we run it again, we should get the log. Finished editing untitled. Hooray, I don't know why it said untitled. Should say Sketchy Sketch, but we can figure that out later. I'm going to keep working on this after the stream because I'm going to make this work for Discord and get this set up so that at the lab we get notified when people finish editing docs if we send them up for this. So thanks, Steve. This is super handy. I'm excited about this.
Thank you. Another here in terms of like Discord. Why don't you, if you do like Command K and type Discord, you should be able to find my like I have a val called Command K will pop up like a search menu thing. Discord webhook. Oh, there it is. Right. Yeah. So that so like the Valtowny kind of pattern we have right now is you'll like import this like utility function I have, and you just provide your like Discord webhook URL. Like Discord will get if you follow some instructions, which I can tell you about in a second. Discord will give you there it is. That explains how to get your Discord webhook, and then you just like provide the content, and then it's done. It's like ridiculously easy. It's like
excellent.
It's a one-line function that you could split out in 4 lines, but
it's one call. All right, sweet. I'm going to do that later today, and maybe I'll put the diffs and stuff in when I got some more time. But yeah, this was fun. Nice. I appreciate your help with getting this started. Now it's at a point where I think I can just run with it.
Nice. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the work.
Does anyone in the chat have questions or anything? I have a minute before I got to go.
Cool. So while you do that, we have a couple hellos. A hello from Canada and a hello from the Dominican Republic. That's awesome.
Hello to both of you. I'm actually coming from Gabriola Island on the west coast of Canada right now. And it's a beautiful day here in the Gulf Islands. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm visiting Gradient Retreat.
Nice. All right. Well,
no questions.
I guess that's it. Thanks again. And
yeah, this was great. Well, I'll let you know when I get this working. And yeah, if anybody has questions about Automerge or whatever else, you can hit me up on Twitter. If you want to follow our research, it's at inkandswitch.com or other places. And yeah, cool. We'll call it there.